Good morning, my apologies. We're up 20th Street. I didn't know that. I had to go way out and come back again. Yeah. It's that clear, so it's 2.5 miles.
Oh, okay.
My apologies.
Okay, we will call this Aviation Committee meeting to order on February 7th, 8 a.m. Thank you all for coming. Sure. Item number 1, approve minutes of December 6th, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions, comments, additions, deletions?
Just to let you know, District 26 has their hand raised. I'm not sure if they. What's going on?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We will move on to public comment on agenda items or any item under the jurisdiction of this committee. Supervisor Hanson wants to make a comment. Maybe now. Supervisor Hanson, can you hear us?
I can. Sorry, I was expecting to go last. I thought maybe someone was in the room. Apologies. Thank you, Chairman Gabbard. I apologize up front. I made some notes and I'm having difficulty reading my own handwriting, but I'm very interested on your agenda today, items number 4, 5, and 9. And I'm primarily looking at 4 and 5 right now because I see that there's discussion for them to be a capital improvement project. I am wondering if making them a capital improvement project increases bargaining power to the city of Oshkosh. And that's probably a discussion for another time, but I'm interested in hearing that. What I do hope is that items 4 and 5 do not stall on the committee, hopefully advance very quickly and come back to the board on the February 27th agenda, if it is still time to get on the February agenda. Because I don't think this is something that the county should wait on personally. Now, on item number 4, that's especially for the study. I think that needs to be expedited immediately, personally. And on item number 4, although I've heard the argument of maybe possibly buying a piece of used equipment that might be half the price, I think that also gives inherent complications that we can't amortize as well as a piece of new equipment. And I don't think that's somewhere or a place that we should talk about maybe saving some money. One of the interests that I have in both items number 4 and 5 is, instead of a capital improvement project, is putting these on the Spirit Fund agenda and funding them immediately. If anyone is interested in doing that, if you think that's a possibility, I'll be happy to write the resolution, or I'll co-sponsor the resolution with you to get that to happen quickly. And lastly, on item number 9, something I'd really like to hear, and there's a method to my madness, is if you have any data EAA on revenues that come into Oshkosh and other communities, if it's broken down that way at all, or even just gross revenue. Be very interested in hearing. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I look forward to discussion.
Thank you, Supervisor Hanson. Anyone else from the public? Item 3, Director's Report. A, East GA Hangar Project Final Update. Jim?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I don't know, I actually put final. Last time we were talking about new hangars, at least as far as the capital project is concerned. On Monday, we have the city of Oshkosh here for building inspection for both the east and the west building. We have essentially gotten occupancy permitted for the east building, which is, of course, 10 units. And we started to have our tenants move in to the east building. I believe we're over half occupied as far as the 10 units go. I would say it's everybody got but they're able to move in now. The west building has a unit that is ADA accessible and required for International Building Code in order to provide accessibility for some with disabilities who have a need for a hangar space. With that unit, the city had some questions about compliance with the ADA requirements of the actual unit itself and accessibility. So they haven't certified the west building yet for occupancy. The town of Acton cities have needed a couple of days to do their own research, I believe, on exactly what it is that the thought was for some reason not meeting the intent of the code. And so we've asked for the other 9 units in that building to be occupied, and so
What is it that they're looking for in that for ADA? I mean, it's an airplane hangar, door goes up. I mean, I guess I'm curious. What are they looking for?
So that unit is basically designed for someone to be able to open the door via remote, so they can literally just click a button or opens and closes. It's all automatic actuators and everything in that unit itself. And so,
yeah, so they're hung up on the, and you probably know this, but on this style of door, the man door, the personnel door, is not, you couldn't roll a wheelchair through it because it's part of the main hangar door, and so there's a frame on the bottom of it. And so they were questioning whether that door needed to be accessible versus just the remote control that opened up the entire hangar door, and then someone in a wheelchair could or someone could walk. So they're looking into whether our engineers thought that compliance actually needs compliance. So we're still pressing the city to allow us to occupy the other 9 were just fine.
Yeah, and then you have tenants waiting.
Yes, they're very interesting. We're all very interested.
Does the city know, they had the blueprints, right? And they knew what they were coming out to inspect.
Right.
It feels like this is just something they should have been prepared to answer on the spot.
And is, long is it a unit? The ADA one, is it on the end? It's on the end?
So,
Well, there is a storage room between.
Oh, okay, so it's easy fix, we put a door away, from the outside there, but if there's something there, then we've got a problem.
something to consider next time around. Sure. Well, again, it was strictly our engineer design firm that said that we need one of those 20 units, right, ADA accessible. So, right, it's a very nice unit for whoever.
You could put a garage door over an airplane and look at it.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I want
some of them.
Right. So you have a tenant for that.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim and Cameron, I'm getting about half of your guys' words. Something going on with your audio. Can you hear me?
Is it better if I speak up, Betsy?
Oh yeah, there you go. There's your booming voice, Jim.
Sorry. I think everyone will attempt to speak up just a little bit better, okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. Maintenance and operations manager introduction.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. We had intended to make our introduction to Chris Schaefer last month, or brother. But Chris has been with the airport since late 2020. Started with the county at the highway department, transferred to the equipment operator position in the airport shortly after that. Before joining the county, we worked with the city of Oshkosh and the sanitation department as an operator, and spent most of his career at ABC Supply Company. Moved up the ladder very quickly as a driver operator, and then ended his time there as a delivery sales manager. He has extensive knowledge and experience in operating equipment, including being certified in cranes and operating backhoes, skid steers, and other road construction equipment. Chris has lived in Oshkosh most of his life, grew up within the community of Venture. In his downtime, he enjoys fishing, boating, football, and spending time with his wife and two kids. He also enjoys shooting darts, which I'm pretty proficient at. National titles, I believe, and in addition, has a passion for music. So Chris has been an integral part of our staff now for several years. I'm very excited to see him be promoted to the operations and maintenance manager. Just wanted to introduce him to the committee today. I'm not sure anybody's had a chance to meet him.
Nice to meet you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4, discuss and approve 2024 CIP request for ARFF replacement. Before, just take that for one of those discussing through. It doesn't mean we have to approve it, nor does it mean we don't. We're going to have a discussion and see folks want to go on this. Okay. So we need a motion and a second to move to this one.
Move to approve the 2024 CIP request for our truck replacement. Second.
Second it, so, would you like
I would
to start this off as a discussion and then?
certainly. And so, for members of the committee, I wrote a memo, one-page memo, regarding the ARF truck replacement. If we had a chance to review that and take that in a little bit. I apologize that the committee didn't have a whole lot more information before it went to the county board last month. On the full list of capital projects that were supposed to be approved by the county board, of course, our fire truck replacement and the design engineering for the fire station got removed from that resolution. And it's going to refer back to the aviation committee. So to provide a little bit more background, in our jointly operated fire station with the city, we currently own and operate 3 aircraft rescue and firefighting or ARC vehicles. The primary ARC vehicle is a 2009 Oshkosh Striker 1500, which is a 1,500 gallon capacity water and ability to make foam, basically, to apply to fuel fires that are typically resulting in an aircraft accident. In 1986, the truck that we're looking to replace, we have a 1986 Oshkosh T1500. And then a third vehicle is a 2004 F550 rapid intervention vehicle. We refer to it as a RIV. The RIV is a smaller vehicle. It's intended to be the first truck on the scene. It specializes in getting into some tighter areas, depending on where the aircraft may have an accident and go down. And it also is uniquely suited to fighting smaller aircraft. Our 2024 CIP request is to replace the 1986 T1500. So that truck is now going on 30 years old. Oshkosh Corporation no longer supports it with available replacement parts due to its age. So we have a very unique challenge to try to keep that truck moving and operating, which our staff and Ed, our mechanic. He's done a great job keeping it going, but it's only got so much left in it. All of our existing trucks utilize a foam currently that contains PFAS. And that foam had been mandated by the FAA for many, many years in order to fight aircraft fire, fuel fire, accident at an airport that has aircraft rescue firefighting services. Last year, the FAA approved a alternate foam that does not contain the chemical PFAS. They call it a fluorine-free foam, fluorine-free firefighting foam. 10 times fast, but to this point, we only have one alternative. And so I say all that to say that our fleet, which has run on the old foam for many, many years, as well as every other airport in the United States, at some point we'll need to transition to the new foam. So we're working on that behind the scenes and the staff trying to figure out when that makes sense, what route it makes sense to do that with. Our existing fleet and any replacement vehicles would be utilizing the new foam right out of the gate. Issues with the 1986 truck also is that back in 2019, the state made utilizing this firefighting foam containing PFAS essentially illegal in order to discharge it for anything that's not a life safety or anything that's not an active fire threat. So in years past, we used to discharge it in order to test it and meet FAA specifications to certify to the FAA annually ahead of our venture, especially in our case, that the foam meets the specifications and is up to all of their standards as far as meeting what we call our ARF index. And I can talk a little bit more about that if you like, but essentially the 1986 truck, you can't discharge foam anymore to test. So for the last few years, we've been borrowing a Striker from Oshkosh Striker vehicle, similar to our 09, from the Central Wisconsin Airport, and utilizing that as one half of our index for our adventure each year for the last third year. And so that's been a temporary fix in order to utilize a truck that can meet their specifications. Because the 1986 truck, we looked at retrofitting it with a self-contained system, which our 2009 has, and we've done that retrofit on our 2009 since the regulations came out. But it's been proven to be, if not impossible, very cost prohibitive on a truck that really doesn't have much life left in it. So while there are a number of options, a number of avenues for providing ARF services at the airport, during your venture and otherwise, we've been looking at a replacement of this vehicle now for the last couple of years. And what was on the county board agenda last month was the replacement of a new vehicle to replace the 1986 in the amount of $1.4 million. So I would ask that the committee consider that request to go back to the county board. But I'd like to open up the discussion.
Now, you mentioned that you get a vehicle from Central Wisconsin. What is the cost to the county and the airport for that vehicle per year? What are you paying for this?
So we pay the trucking cost and we pay the firefighter cost as far as the hours worked, because they mandate that one of their firefighters staff it. Primary person staffs it. We also have a city firefighter, firefighter that goes with them in order to make up the ARF coverage during the event. We pass along all those costs. Currently, the EAA, but I want to say it's less than $4,000 on an annual basis in order to borrow that ARF truck from Central Wisconsin Airport. The caveat to it the last few years has been that if they need it back for whatever reason, they have two trucks up there. Excuse me. And they're able to meet their ARF index in just their other primary truck. So they're able to loan us that truck, but if something were to happen to their primary truck, they can take it back with short notice. And so we'd be kind of left in a tough spot during their venture should that happen. But they do need to recall their truck.
And I know they have a lot of commercial services out of the airport, Central Wisconsin. So if there was a need, they take it.
So all I have to say is we've been utilizing some temporary measures in order to provide the level of ARF service that we historically have with that 1986 truck. Since 2019, 2020, of course, we know the convention in 2020. It's been more or less unusable from the standpoint of the FAA. We can't certify it that it meets a part of our fitness. So that's your company.
Is there a value to that vehicle out on the open market? We wanted to sell it.
Started to look into that. We've asked our mechanic to get some, our airport mechanic to get some numbers on what the resale value might be. We don't 100% know what that is yet, but it'd be less than $100,000. Maybe more valuable than a piece of other. These cases we can't put out replacement parts.
That's his vision.
Yeah, so I want everybody on the committee to make their comments. So I'm gonna start with Betsy. Betsy?
I'm here. I'm here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. My only concerns with all this, I know everybody kept talking in the last meeting about hey, let's basically Frankenstein another vehicle and try to get this done. And I don't that makes no sense to me, because by the time you get all the parts and then you try to do all that, you're talking time versus money, and it's going to probably come out to be about the same anyway, maybe a little less of savings for something that has no warranty and no maintenance or anything like that. So that I'm not for at all. And I don't even understand why we're all still even discussing it at this point. The second thing is, I think we're either all in on this airport or we just don't have an airport there. And quite frankly, I know that everybody says, oh, but the EAA, this airport runs the entire year. And and I know everybody there knows my husband flies in and out of this airport. They're, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the largest, other than what happens at EAA, they're the largest user of the airport. And quite frankly, I would love to see an airport maintained, because it's the safety. We all argue, even with the vending machines the other night, if it saves one life. Well, that's the whole concept of this, is to save lives of people who might be in an accident, could be. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but just to say we're either all in or we don't have one at all. I don't understand the in-betweens and trying to. I get that we're working with the city of Oshkosh to try to do something, but we don't know how that's going to pan out, and to base everything on how it's going to happen, I don't think that's possible until we have solid stuff going forward, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on all this, but I'll let everybody else talk now. Thanks.
You got more to add to
No.
Okay, Mr. Jones.
I just have one question. Because I remember you talking about the incident we had during the EAA, and the way we had to cordon off everything where the phone was and make sure everything was safe. With this new firefighting material, is there the same type of after incident? Is it going to be, or is it? So on top of everything else, it's going to be less intensive on you and your staff if something does happen here, because you don't have that contamination worry. Then you're not going to clean up afterwards and so on and so forth.
So that'll extend our whole fleet that will eventually need to transition to the
Right.
We're hopeful that another phone will be certified outside of the one that's currently certified as of last fall, because the cost of that now, as you can imagine, being the only one out there on the market that the FAA has blessed is like triple. But a new vehicle would run the new phone. Any new vehicles going forward, I can't imagine anybody's going to want to truck that continues to utilize the bus over that being phased out. So the other two vehicles in our fleet will have to continue to look at a transition.
Yeah, and the reason I asked is because I'm sure you noticed at the last meeting, a few of us came to the airport's defense with facts that people didn't have. And that's one fact that I think is very high on the priority list, is the fact that you're not going to have that after incident. Coordinating everything off, making sure nobody gets in that area, and then taking care of the cleanup afterwards, and so on and so forth. You're not going to have that. You're not going to have the future remediation. But, you know, it's all of those things in one. We're moving forward, moving into this, you know, this new firefighting material is only beneficial for the airport and the staff and everybody who uses the airport. And I just want to get that out there. It's in the notes now. If somebody's actually going to pay attention and watch this meeting, there are other reasons besides just the money, the age. That there are all these other things that if you're arguing against getting new equipment, which I can't understand after 30 years, there's another reason to add on to the pros. So.
Okay, so this truck would be your like primary, you know, if you can, you would use this truck version, right? Correct. Okay. But there are some times where this truck wouldn't be usable, right? Like there's sometimes where this truck can't get into the geography and you need to use that smaller truck, or that smaller truck is more, you know, more appropriate for putting a fire out. So this wouldn't immediately eliminate the use of T-box, or like even necessarily cascade it to sort of like a second tier use in all cases.
It wouldn't immediately eliminate the potential for the use of PFAS. That'll be a long transition period. I'd say the vast majority of an aircraft accident that we may have or could have here could be handled with our vehicle like we're talking about. I think we'd have to change our procedure. Right now, but right now the fire department, its standard procedure is to go out with a rib and a large truck. If an aircraft declares emergency and potential for having an accident and landing, and we're forewarned of it, that is the typical operating procedure now. But if we were able to replace the 1986 new truck with a new foam, I think we just have to have a shift of how we, from an environmental standpoint, of how we handle those sorts of things. You know, anything that happens on airport, new truck would be able to handle it. It's more if it goes down in a confined area, a wooded area, that we may need a real vehicle to be in there. But again, the real vehicle has so much limited amount of water. So once that's exhausted.
Yes, I think your point very well, that the cost of using the PFAS-laden foam is not well known to everybody making this decision, and a significant, you know, variable in, you know, in sort of the year-to-year expenses of it, on top of the safety, you know, concerns that are hard to quantify across the sheet. I think we should move forward with funding the truck. It feels to me like it's very core to what the county does, what the county has been planning for years, and that should be funded through the CIP project as was intended. And while maybe not the directive or the purpose of this resolution, I also think it would be nice to see what a transition plan could look like with some options. So I think there is some consternation on the board about, you know, and maybe this is putting it a little more eloquently than others have, but like what is the level of coverage we need, and what is the viability of continuing to borrow trucks? I think that doesn't change the direction of this, because to me this is about anchoring. I'm sure regardless we're going to always need a quality ARF truck on site, no matter what, all times of the year. And I think there's some people who maybe would like to see a little bit more about, you know, if down the road when we need to replace that second vehicle, if we're spending another $1.8 million on it, what would the alternatives be to keep us afloat for the things we need? I don't know that there's a great grasp of the safety trade-offs on that either. What you were talking about with CWA just pulling their truck back, and obviously that's kind of unknown, but I think it'd be helpful for the board if that's something that's being thought about or able to be talked about I know it's tough, probably 10, 20 years down the line for some of this, and obviously an emerging tech field that hopefully makes cheaper products more, makes this all more affordable. But that's where I'm at. I think we should, move forward with it as part of the CIP.
If I may, actually, we are evaluating other alternatives as this kind of continues to go through the process. So, ultimately, like with our stone equipment or like our large mowing equipment, big capital equipment purchase, I mean, we're always going to look to replace it with a new vehicle that we can replace a 30-year-old piece of equipment. We're doing a lot of self work. Getting up there and making age 30, 40 years old. We're always going to come and look to replace it with a new piece of equipment. For some reason, budgetary constraints or board approvals don't through the funding for any piece of equipment, we look at alternative. So I think that's always like our first step.
Okay, my comments are, I wish this hadn't come back to committee because I don't think it needed to come back, but it's here. So now it's our job to either approve this, send it back to county board to the February 27th meeting, which I'm pretty sure we can get it on that agenda. And I did look into spirit funds, and I was told by a couple of the commissioners that the spirit fund remaining money is all earmarked for other things. That we can't get in the picture of the art vehicle of that fund, which is $13 million left. They don't have anything of art truck replacement airport, which was astounding to me. So they said, probably don't want to try that. And as you remember, Supervisor Carr is that we should do it straight from two of the members of the commission. So my points are it's 80 cents. And I know it's and that they don't get a lot of miles on it, they don't, but it's old. And yes, the price could be around 1.4, which we have to put this on the bill. And there's another manufacturer of these vehicles. But you've got Oshkosh Corp sitting right here in Oshkosh, which employs a lot of taxpayers, which I hope they do their due diligence and do it correctly, but we're not in charge of that. So, just clarify this because I read the agreement with the city. That art vehicle or any of the art vehicles is allowed to go out to service. There's a fire on the south side. It could go out and serve that. Okay, that's correct, right? So it's not just airport, okay? And it's not just EAA. And I was interested to hear that EAA does pay for Central Wisconsin. Because there are board members that think EAA should buy this new vehicle. That could be facetious, I don't know, but that's a thought from two board supervisors. So if we didn't have that vehicle in its town, then we're left with two. If we can't keep that thing in some kind of maintenance that it can operate well, then we're down to two. And this is the one that really should be replaced. The safety factor comes into play here. To me, if this agreement has been going on and we have 3 vehicles listed in the agreement, the city has the right to go on a fire call off of the airport. You're now dealing with taxpayers who own the homes, and it's always been there. So I know change is good sometimes, but when it's in the CIP plan, it's in the CIP plan for a reason. And buying a used one, we're just taking on someone else's, perhaps, problems, we don't buy used phones for the highway department. Just saying, because we want to be able to solve the road safely. So I'm for moving this whichever direction this committee wants to do it. We want to send it back to the county board. It's a pretty quick send back. We could stall it out and talk to the commission again, and then for spirit money, I don't know, that seems a contentious idea to me at this point. So my thing is send it back to the county board, because it was at the county board, and some of us voted to go ahead with it, but then it got pulled, come back. So nothing's really changed since it was on the county board again. So I'm interested in comments.
Yeah, the only reason I would question sending it directly back to the board is because part of the directive when they sent it back to us was to look into sending it to Spirit Fund. And if we don't do that, I mean, I have a feeling we're gonna have the same amount of votes when it goes back to the county board, because we didn't at least explore that option.
I agree with you.
And it's not that, with the information you've given.
That's not enough.
Right. You know, if we send it right back to the board and we say, well, we heard from numbers, and then, you know, as Chairman Farr is add his to it. And, you know, and he was the one who brought it out and made it a big deal saying, well, please send this back to the Spirit Fund. So I think we would be doing the airport the best service by sending it to the Spirit Fund, because even if we swing and miss, at least we're taking a swing there, and we're fulfilling what maybe some of those deciding votes on the county board needed us to do to get their support. Like if it does come back and they say they aren't in the Spirit Fund.
Does someone know offhand? The Spirit Commission told me they're meeting twice a month to try to get the money spent. So that's what I was told. So do we know when their next meeting is?
They don't have any meetings scheduled for that.
They don't have anything to do with it.
So I don't know if they are intending to get 2 more meetings in, or if that, you know, what the timing of that would be. But I would suggest that there isn't time to send it to ARPA and have ARPA move it to the county board for February 8th. So I hear what you're saying, and I would agree that wasting time and delaying isn't in our best interest. And given what was published today, I don't think the ARPA Commission is going to get it to the board in February. And so it might be worth our time to send it to the board and really leave it up to the board where they think what the funding mechanism should be. Because I guess ultimately, I also think the 4 of us are not necessarily the people who should be thinking about where this money is coming from. I think that's a decision for the board to make. Well, 4 voting members, but you know, and I also don't think that so I think that decision is best vested in the board, and so I would be in favor of sending it to the board for February, while also being very willing to open that up and say that the question that this committee is asking the board is, you know, to pass it out of the CIP, or if not that, still move forward with the project, but send it to ARPA for, you know, for.
Okay.
That's major.
Betsy?
Hi, guys. I know everybody's talking about sending it to the Spirit Fund, but tell me, and I'm asking this not being facetious by any means at all, but to ask if we send it to the Spirit Committee, what is the actual purpose for that? I mean, are they going to ask the same questions that we're asking now? Are they, I know that we're trying to find different ways to fund this. Is it going to be that way? Is it going to go into the general projects or whatever the term is? But what, I mean, is this just a vet more? I mean, I don't know how much more we could get this thing vetted. I mean, my goodness, if I hear more stuff about foam, I don't know. If people don't get that now, I'm not sure how that's going to go if it goes through yet another committee and then comes right back to the board yet again. So I'm not for sure. I'm not 100% sure what, I mean, but please tell me what you guys think, in regards to that. Like, do you really think that it needs to go to the spirit committee? I mean, just tell me what you guys think, because I'm just curious.
Well, here's the thing, Betsy, Supervisor Fari put that in part of his motion to send it back to the committee and have them try to get the funding through the Spirit Fund. And we don't want to forget, like Supervisor Hill said, we don't want to forget what Chuck put in there. Because he said there was $13 million left of the 33, and perhaps the art vehicle could take some of that. And I see his point in a way, because this is not just an airport thing. It also affects certain residents on the south side of Oshkosh, or at Oshkosh as a whole, if that truck had to go on a big fire. So we're trying to respect, I believe is what you're saying, we're trying to respect Supervisor Fari's wishes. And I talked to, like I said, and I talked to them, and I believe they're honest people. There seems to be a rush on the Spirit Fund to get it spent quickly, to be done with it, because we have an election coming up, and they're worried that some of the commissioners won't be back on the Spirit Fund Commission, which does not take away from the rest of the board members who could become members of that commission. But now that Supervisor Schellinger has said there's no Spirit Fund Commission meeting in February, floors me, they had 2 in January, so they could get moving. So now I don't know what that all means, but that would mean we would be snagged up at least another month waiting for the Spirit. So I don't know how we appease Supervisor Fari and not upset him that we didn't try it and yet move forward with this. So I'm not sure how we're gonna vote on this, but
Mary Beth, has this been, I thought this had been looked at the Spirit Fund briefly, but that's how it got pushed through to the committee to begin with. Not the committee, I'm sorry, the full board.
I think Director Schell can answer that for us.
Betsy, it's Jim. No, this ARP truck replacement had not gone to the Spirit Fund prior. We did at one point look to the Spirit Fund for replacement of the RIV vehicle, but that got essentially tabled and not brought back up at this point. So we shifted gears and looked at replacing the older non-distribution trucks. So no, it has not gone to the Spirit Committee or the ARPA.
Saying that, you never brought it up to this? It never made
This
for the wasn't?
No.
Okay.
But the vehicle you had, correct?
What, Betsy?
The vehicle you had brought up to the Spirit Fund, right?
At one point, we had a request to replace the RIV at the Spirit Fund, but that didn't actually get shut down by the Spirit Committee. They actually voted in favor of it. It was if you remember when they were talking about changing the name from ARPA to Spirit at the board level, that got sidetracked with a bunch of other projects quite some time back because of that disagreement over titling it Spirit Fund. So that just never got brought back. I'm sure there's a lot of other projects that did, but we just at that point in time didn't bring it back. But to be clear, this fire truck replacement has not been.
Correct. Is it possible to do both? Well, apply to the Spirit and then show to the county board that you are applying to the Spirit and them to be able to move forward. And it seems like it's kind of a time crunch.
Because it is a CIP project, capital improvement project, and it's already listed as a capital improvement, it's the funding. I don't know, that's up to my committee.
I trust what you're saying, that what the commissioners are saying,
Oh,
that the money in the Spirit Fund, the ARPA Fund, is already earmarked, and that there really isn't $13 million, because they've already decided how they're gonna spend it.
Right, that's what I was.
despite not having votes and things like that.
Right.
What you're saying about how the RIV thing went through tracks right along with how this money has been, thought about and spent. I think we send it to the, I would be in favor, again, of sending it to the board and asking the board to make that decision about where the, where the funding comes from. I'm not confident that sending it to the ARPA committee is going to get a good result, and I fear that if we send it there directly without the board's sort of stamp of approval that the project should move forward, that we'll be ceding the authority to the ARPA commission to decide if the project should move forward and not if the funding should come from ARPA or not.
So the resolution to the county board could again be a resolution to approve the 2024 CIP request. Funding and bonding, I guess you could put in there, bonding, spirit fund, or general funds. And let the board decide that, but you got an or and an or and an or. You feel good about that?
You could introduce, as you introduce it, you could discuss, this board, this committee has had discussions about the validity, the need for the truck. Agrees that this is the path to take, but didn't feel comfortable making a decision about the funding. And that's the question.
And then if Supervisor Tari would question why we didn't get on the agenda for, because that's really not our gig.
That's not.
The funding isn't the CIP project for this vehicle, so how do you feel about that, Supervisor?
I guess if in the, I guess I would get a full results apart. That if it had the option of
Yeah.
funding,
Yeah,
I think, I'm hoping we
you're
could
thinking
accomplish,
maybe,
I'm hoping we could accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. Obviously, I've talked to, last Friday, I was at the grocery store and I happened to run into a handful of city firefighters doing their grocery shopping. And I was gonna talk more on this on the next item. But even with the old truck, that I brought that up. I mean, I had an opportunity with a handful of firefighters and for enforcement talk. Hey, nobody wants to work at that fire station in the city of Oshkosh. That's gonna come next. They all try to actively avoid that station if they can.
Yeah.
Because of many issues, which I'll bring up later. But as far as the fire truck goes, they're like, yeah, it's just kind of like a decoration. Because they can't use it for any, they can use it, but they, it's not, they can't utilize it in the way that they utilize every other piece of equipment in the city of Oshkosh. Every other piece of equipment they have for Winnebago County. And same thing when I brought up the funding, because I know they had said, well, can't this Oshkosh be a big part of this and this and that. Well, like we talked about, if we spend $1.4 million on a 30-year, for a truck for 30 years, that's about $40,000 a year it costs the county. Over that period of time. The city's gonna spend a whole lot more than that manning that fire truck. And manning that fire station.
yes.
That's just the personnel. That's not on the other equipment that they need. So, yeah, I'm not gonna try to get too far ahead of myself here with that, but
Yeah.
as far as the firefighters go, yes, it is something that is desperate.
What are your feelings on?
I'm all for the truck. We gotta get the truck. I think from a future for the airport, with looking at commercial tenants, it's just gonna add a little more sizzle to the plate when we start looking at additional tenants for the commercial aspect. Let's face it, this airport's not gonna survive without expanding its operations in one form or another. And it'll probably be through different businesses, like we already have started to see. I agree that the funding needs to come from someplace. Let's send it back to the board and say, we need the truck. Let's let you guys decide
Where the funding is.
where the funding comes from. Because if we're not, if we're finding out that there's no money left in the spirit fund, then why are we beating it? Why are we kicking it back and swinging at it as somebody referenced? We need to get it back and we need to get the process going, because it's just gonna add more value. Not to mention, who knows, maybe somebody will borrow the truck for what event at one of the surrounding airports and generate a little additional revenue that will help offset that.
Do you see where we're going? That we're, I think we're leaning towards sending it back to the county board, but the funding would be, instead of bonding or general fund, we'd add the spirit fund also in there. So that has to be in the resolution if we make the motion to do this. So then it's your job to get that in the resolution with Mary Ann and get that ready. Then we can pay it to the 27th.
That's his way to work, man.
Betsy.
Hi guys. Yeah, I agree with Kobe and you guys on where you're going with this. I was never for the Spirit Fund going back to that committee. I think it really should be at the pleasure of the board to figure out where we're going to get the money from, if it's from the general fund, bonding, the Spirit Fund, what have you. I just know that it's necessary to either to have a truck and to have this fire station, because if we don't have it, then I think it's going to look a lot different at the airport. Once again, this airport runs 365 days. It's the largest GA in the state. We either have to support our stuff or not have it. And I don't know, I like having it. I'm not sure about everybody else, but I'm for it. So I think it should definitely go back to the full board and let the pleasure of the board figure out how to fund it.
And sure, do you want me to make a motion to send it back?
Yeah, we need to put the wording in there.
I was just gonna ask, can we have separate, I don't know, you need a resolution to go to the spirit fund, but basically like a request, can we send it to county board for approval of the CIP, but can we also send something to the spirit fund applying for funds? It seems like those would be two separate entities. If we say that we're sending it back to the board, but we also put in for the next meeting that ARPA funds to hopefully not have to take into the general fund or bond them, then we kill the two birds with one stone that they're looking for. And I think if we have it specifically stated that way, then we have the questions answered when it comes to the board.
So how are we gonna get the document?
That's his way to your opinion.
Betsy.
Yep. Oh, I think my hand was raised and I never lowered it. Sorry. I don't have a question.
We don't wanna.
I believe that's possible, isn't it? For the funding for it.
It's my understanding, but my understanding is that anything that the Spirit Commission approves has to go to the county board for all spending. I've seen that. Again, it's ultimately operates.
But at least it would,
We're submitting to them.
we're submitting to them, and
The funding would come.
because is a CIP project, it already is a CIP.
Yeah.
So we want that to go back and get voted on to approve it as a CIP with specific funding. But
It'd be like
send
any
a
of these
letter
other-
to the Spirit Commission, is that what we?
Well, I would think it would be like any of these, well, let's not get sidetracked,
Right.
but any of these nonprofits who put in, but they already have their projects are already going. And they're putting in, trying to get funds to pay for it. So we're saying, you know what, let's vote on whether this is what we should do as a county board, but the funding over here, it might not affect our bonding or our general fund because the spirit, this is already put in, we're already putting into the spirit fund.
So we could do a letter to the Spirit Commission. What do we have to send?
That would be a question for Mary Ann.
I can synthesize the.
But you understand what I'm getting at,
Yeah,
so we're gonna have
A resolution to the county board would ultimately look like.
Right.
But in that resolution, that's the three avenues of funding, but then we need to,
Make sure that we're actually submitting for funding to the
To the
ARPA fund, not submitting for approval, submitting for funding.
funding. Because we want this to go back to the board for approval, is that what I?
Yes, we're sending this to the board for the approval of the capital improvement project. And we're sending, and then we're also sending a request for funding from the Spirit Fund. And if the Spirit Fund says, no, we don't have any funds, well, then it passes at the, or fails, or it passes at the board for bonding or general funds.
Right.
But if the ARPA comes through, then we don't have to worry about those.
We don't need to.
Basically,
separate resolutions.
No, basically what we would be doing is expediting the process.
Yes,
Covering everything that they asked us to do at the county board, making them make a decision on the project only.
only. And what Supervisor Scheller said, there's no meeting in February, so we'd be snagged up.
But we would be able to get the funding aspect of it up and going in their first real meeting, and that doesn't, then that would come back. That's margin, but we should go the project, they can move forward.
Yeah.
And then also take care of it in March, and we're speeding up the entire process in general. Is that,
They do end up having a
I'm sure.
on the
Yeah, I mean,
There's already some.
that's not like maybe that's,
exactly.
I mean, that's an equal, everything changes, you was correct.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we need to move this.
So we should have a resolution to this before the.
who's gonna be on what committee, who's gonna be elected? Okay, so does somebody wanna put together that motion?
Well,
Either end.
what do we,
The original motion was just essentially the CIP request back to the Congress. So you want to amend that motion regarding for funding
With the funding request submitted to the Spirit Fund.
Those three options. But then do you wanna say in that resolution, anything about submitting it to?
Yeah, I think we should add a whereas clause
Whereas
that says,
the funding is also being submitted.
where the committee thinks the project should move forward.
Right.
The committee is requesting the ARPA committee to, or commission to review a funding proposal, but that our last there for the dissolved clause is funded through bonding, reserve, or ARPA. Those are the two things we want to. Briefing, yeah.
Like I said, I just want to make sure that we get on that ARPA agenda before the March meeting. And that's why I was like, we need to actually have this resolution and then have a funding submittal that goes to, two separate items.
It would not hurt.
And that's what, is that what we should, you made the motion?
Yeah,
right?
I'm good for that, but.
You made the motion, I seconded it?
Yeah.
So how about, we have the motion to send this back to county board with the wording, and then as part of that motion, also a funding proposal submitted to the
I
ARPA
am
fund.
utterly confused at the entire process that the ARPA has set up and seems to follow arbitrarily. So I don't know what.
It seems to me we would be following the same process of these other entities that ask for ARPA money.
So do we have a whereas in that resolution saying that we are going to do that?
That's what I would suggest, whereas we.
Or like I said, we just make a formal submittal to our.
We have to let the county board know what we're doing.
Right, and that would be a part of the funding, part where we would say, or ARPA funds, and if somebody says, well, this is the only thing that says ARPA funds, and we say, yes, because we need a submission for funding from the ARPA. But without it, it should be voted on as its own entity.
And we're not doing the funding source. You can say this, we're not picking the source.
Well, we're hoping that the Spirit Fund comes through, this needs to be done anyway.
Yes.
So that's it.
Because tonight you're only approving the CIP project coming back to the board, only, not.
Right.
You've got to say something here, looking at the source.
We need to make sure, like I said, that we have to make sure we have some submission to that goes to the next.
And that could come anytime you can submit to the That could be taking place in February, like, so.
Are you clear on,
I'm clear.
yes, yeah, we have this one to the board, and then we have a separate submittal that we want to make sure that gets to the next part of you. So that way we can get a resolution that.
But you gotta submit it to the ARPA commission. Johnny. Okay, so we've gotta get that to them so we can get on that agenda for their next meeting.
So I guess, yeah, contact,
But we gotta do it formally.
yes.
You gotta do it formally. So you see where we're at?
Either those
We're-
two, as long as they understand what we're trying to,
Mhm. Because
That's right there.
we got Supervisor Carr in the background asking us to do that, so we're doing it. Okay, and if we get a no, we get a no, but at least this project doesn't die.
I have a
But I-
feeling, and I have a
Yeah,
feeling.
we don't want it to die.
I have a feeling, I'm not, I think too far ahead of myself, but just to set us up, I have a feeling the next one, we're gonna do it in the same manner. That was another one we said.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, just,
Let's say that, but we
just so
still
Jim's prepared, so we don't have to rehash all
So we
this
don't want
again.
two resolutions, we just want one resolution mentioning 3 types of funding. And you get, you part of that, you just get it. We'll call ARPA. And then we make some kind of formal request from the airport director to the Spirit funds to put this project on their agenda. This is the Spirit fund. He'll put it all good.
Are we, in
Does that
sync
sound
here,
good?
Kobe?
We
Is this
got it?
where we wanna go?
Betsy, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we agree that's the motion that we made and seconded.
And you're good?
Oh,
We don't want to kill this.
I'm on board. I
Okay.
don't want to kill this at all.
I was dotting, I did crossing Ts.
So, as per the suggested
I'll forgive you.
amendment to the original request resolution, and it's, we got it all set, and we'll vote, all those in favor of sending it back to the county board with amendment as spoken here, allowing Spirit Fund to be one of the funding options. All those in favor of sending it back to the county board for a capital improvement project? Any ayes?
Aye.
Nays? 4-0, Betsy, I'm sorry you can't vote.
I know, but I have sunshine.
So stay tuned for number 5.
I have a feeling this will be quicker.
Okay.
That's what I tried to say.
Okay, number 5, discuss and approve 2024 CIP request for airport fire station design and engineering. Okay, I need a motion and a second to raise the floor.
Second.
All right, discussion starts. Ed?
I think we should do exactly what we did with the fire truck, approve it for a capital improvement project. We know that we need to do something with that building. We need to do something with it. It's not gonna last much longer. And if we've got staff that doesn't wanna go there, it's gonna create another problem, and they are a taxpayer.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that we move forward the same way we did with the truck.
Raise your hands.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I went on a tour of that fire station when I was in grade school. It was a brand spanking new fire station. I'm now turning 54. That should say pretty much in a nutshell right there about, the station's aging, it's old. Again, I talked to that group of firefighters. They've had at least one firefighter who's developed ALS. They've had other firefighters who've developed cancer, who worked primarily at that station. I'm not saying they have the direct link, but they believe that it's the link because of the PFAS and the contamination and the fact that everything's in such close quarters and they don't have proper ventilation and all the things that we went over when we were on the tour. That fire station, yes, when it comes through, which is gonna be the argument that we're gonna hear at county board. We're not gonna hear the argument about the $500,000 to research and design. We're gonna hear about the $5 million to build, which it may not be, may be, who knows? Again, if you get 50 years out of that, and they're gonna say, we want the city of Oshkosh to pay some of that. Well, the city of Oshkosh is paying for the firefighters, and they're paying for a lot of that other equipment that's in there. And they're gonna spend well over $5 million in 50 years of manning that station. Well over. I think it's a no-brainer. I think this is what was it, second worst or worst on the
Well, there's
study
a
that was
hangar
just
out
done?
here that's worse.
On
Hangar
the
7.
county's facility condition
Yeah.
assessment, it was in the bottom three.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in the bottom
For
three.
all county buildings.
That's why we had that done. Just know where we needed to do things now and where we could hopefully work things in. This is something that needs to be done now. And you can sit there and say oh yeah, they run on fire runs for the city of Oshkosh. As our chairman brought up, they're residents of Winnebago County too. Yes, we may be housing those guys. They're paying the bills. Am I right? They pay the utilities while they're out there. We pay the utilities, but they do the manning, all their equipment that they need, as far even down to computers, weightlifting equipment, beds. I mean, all that stuff they take care of. We take care of the building for them and the maintenance, right?
We take care of the building, which includes the maintenance and operating costs of the utilities. And we take care of our own ARF trucks, which of course maintenance on those trucks and any water chemicals that are needed, equipment on the ARF trucks and such.
Right.
That's such therapies.
Yeah, I think as far as the agreement goes, I think we actually come out of it on the right end of it because of the manning part of it. That's quite a bit of money. And how do you put a price on having that at the airport, the G airport that operates all the time? As Betsy said, her husband flies for company in and out of here all the time. Those are things that, we make revenue off at the airport, with the money out there, the tax money on the fuel, I don't know what we have for fees for using the airport, but there's all different ways that that these things work, and this is part of that ecosystem that keeps everything safe. And sorry, I know I went a little long on that, but I had issues I needed to get out there.
You may have more in a few minutes. Supervisor Stellinger.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of how we need to cooperate with another entity. The other issues, to me, are separate from the fact that we have a building that is not serving the needs of the use it.
So I have been thought about this because people have told me, why do we have a fire station at the airport? And then, of course, I'm defending the airport again, which I don't have to do with what I did. And I said, but here's the other fact. There's a bunch of people that live on the south side of Oshkosh. The next closest fire station is Washburn. So if somebody over here,
I live less than a mile from there.
and I thought of John, Supervisor Hills. So these are all taxpayers out here. This fire station serves dual purpose. It is 50 years old. That doesn't mean it should be built those, but there are extenuating circumstances going on within the building, boilers, some old all that. Now, when Supervisor Hens tells me there's firefighters that don't want to be out here, and we used to back in the day call it a cushy job to be out at this fire station because it's kind of boring because not a lot happens. And there were certain firemen who made a career of being out there. Well, now we can't pin down that the diseases are related to that, but we'll just let that go. So my whole thing comes to safety and serving the people we're supposed to serve. So it's not just for the airport, even though it is here. What we furnish and what the city furnishes and the agreement, it needs a little tweaking, like you said, but that can be tweaked while this engineering is going on. What recourse would the city have if we don't have that fire station? They gotta build another fire station. Because I think this whole side of town would be at a city hall meeting saying, so we had a fire station. Our insurance on our homes was cheaper because it was so close. We feel safe because, oh, there's nothing here other than building another one in. For Washburn to get over here to John's house, I don't know, maybe it'll be too late. And I thought, safety, it concerns me because these are all taxpayers. So this agreement with the city for a fire station is the best of two worlds for both municipalities. And it is truly intergovernmental cooperation. And the city has been able to sit down at the table with us and tweak things. And it's a good relationship. So the airport is in the city, but it's owned by the county, which is unusual. And it is a 365-day-a-year airport, but they do go out on calls. If we had a massive fire over here or on the other side, everybody goes. And I know Supervisor has a museum here. And we had them from all over. So, and yes, the towns, the outlying towns have mutual agreements with the city, but you can't depend on that for a particular fire that's going on as city first if you live in the city. So based on safety, and this is only improving the design and engineering, okay? That's all it's doing, which is a lot of money, but it's the procedure we have to go through to get to being able to put the project out there. So 150,000, it is a lot of money. That's a lot of money to me. But it's a CIP project that exists. So I would like to bring this one back to the board with the same whereas and the same kind of document going to the Spirit Fund, because it doesn't hurt to ask the Spirit Fund for money. And then we.
Obviously, I agree, because I told him that we're gonna go with that one.
So
And it makes
that's
sense.
where I'm at. Betsy, what is your take on this?
You said that you wanted to send it back to the board. Is that what you said, or the Spirit Fund? I didn't hear it.
But
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you where, I mean, it's part of our, this is literally part of our county projects, right? I mean, once again, we either maintain our buildings and maintain our stuff, or we don't have it anymore. So, they either need to approve it and make it better, because it's obviously I think you said it was like the third worst, but I thought it was the worst building in the facility study. I couldn't remember or not. What was it? Was it the worst? Was it even worse than the highway department?
It was in the bottom three. I have
Yeah.
the actual ranking.
I mean, whatever, I guess, but it's one of our buildings. Once again, we either maintain it or it's going to go away. You can't have both, right? So hopefully we just send it back to the board and they understand that. I mean, I don't know if we should talk about medical stuff as much, because that's not a proven thing, and that's, you know what I mean? So I get a little uncomfortable talking about the medical stuff with the firemen, just because none of that's concrete, but it's just a building. We need to maintain it if we want to keep it, right?
Right.
So it's clear cut to me. So I agree. Send it back to the board.
Okay, who wants to make the motion? And I'm assuming it's gonna be similar to the one we had before with the slide document going to. So.
Move to approve of those same adjustments.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Okay, same scenario for that one, with that whereas paragraph. Thank you guys, I appreciate all your input on this. Okay. Item 6, discuss and approve a hangar lease between Fred Stadler and Winnebago County. Cameron?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. A few months ago, this committee approved Fred Stadler's lease in a new hangar. Just last month, Fred's Dream Hangar opened up. We have a tenant who got out of the airplane ownership business, and so Fred decided Fred's way up on the list and been waiting for this hangar for a long time. Decided to take this other hangar, L809B, and so this is a request to approve a lease between Fred and Winnebago County for L809B. This is a county-owned hangar that's on the north side of the airport. The hangar rental is $415.73 per month, and that goes up by CPIU. And this one is yearly, so every year this goes up by inflation. Our request is to approve this hangar lease for L809B and Fred Stadler and Winnebago County.
Motion's been made, seconded to approve a hangar lease between Fred Stadler and Winnebago County. Any comments?
You already got his lead. Oh, what?
I just said Fred's on there, so I.
Okay. His hangar that he was waiting to move into is already taken if he moves up. Is that fill it right?
No, as of last night, we found somebody.
Oh, so it's, okay, so it's filled already.
Yeah, it'll be on next month's agenda for you guys.
Yeah, okay.
Fred, do you have any comments?
Okay.
No, I think pretty straightforward. Have a, it's actually a slightly more expensive hangar, but it's in a location that I like. So hopefully it works for the county and works for me.
Okay, thank you. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0 approved. All right, item 7, self-serve fuel update. Justin is flying, you said, so you're gonna give us a little update?
Well, I really don't have much of an update for the committee. I did talk to Justin about giving the committee an update at the March meeting. So I've already got that on his calendar. Assuming it'd be the first Wednesday in March. But he didn't have too much of an update for me right now, but he did mention that he'd give a more comprehensive update in March.
Move on to 8, 2023 year in review slideshow.
Cameron's gonna go ahead and pull this up. So for the members of the committee, I think it really just Ed that hasn't been here the last couple of years. If you remember, we did one of these last year for the first time. We've got a lot of things going on at the airport year round, and I think it's important that we showcase some of that, our staff's hard work, and all the things that we're doing year round. And so graphically, we always put, this is the second year in a row now, we're putting together a slideshow for the committee. And I'll run through these fairly quickly, but it's just kind of a year in review of all the things that happened in the last 12 months out at the airport, at least the ones that we captured by picture. So. So hopefully everybody can see that. I don't know if they can see it on Zoom or not. Betsy, can you see that?
Yes.
That's your screen sharing. Okay. All right, so go ahead next slide. So we'll go ahead and get the nitty gritty out of the way right away. The 4-letter word that begins with S. We don't want to see any more of it this year, but this is a couple of photos from our work last year, about a year ago at this time. When we have big storms, we get out there and we're plowing for all of our based users, our transient users that come in and out. So the bottom and the right kind of show a little bit of what we're doing out there when we get a big heavy snow, and out there piling it up and then blowing it off the runway on the right-hand side. I don't want to say that's even Chris.
That is me.
Operating the blower.
That is me.
His handiwork. But the equipment that we have is honestly for a general aviation airport is top notch. The staff that we have also top notch. And so kind of the bottom and the right show what we're doing out there to get the upper left, in and out. A lot of the times when we're out there moving snow in a blinding snowstorm, nobody's flying, or maybe Packer's flying, or maybe Wings and Eagles. They're pretty expertly proficient at anything IFR. But It's really for the next day and the next week and making sure that our flying users can get back to utilizing the airport. Similar to if you don't have to go anywhere on a snow day and traverse I-41 or something like that, you might not do it. But you're really hoping the next day or the next week you can actually drive it. So kind of the same principle with the airfield. Second slide, just more of the same. Bottom or on the left-hand side is Oshkosh Corp Home and playing on the hangar on snow day. And then upper right is just more of a, what our view is when it's nice whiteout conditions out there. So a little bit of community outreach. On the left-hand side is the Chamber Expo, Business Expo that we participate in every year. We'll be there again this year. Just talking about what's going on at the airport, what we're doing, big projects coming up, that sort of thing. And really is our big event each year to engage with our community and, put a name to a face. We're there, each year kind of doing the theme of the Business Expo. So last year it was, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Because the theme was game shows. And so Kim was kind enough to supply a fifth grader, a real actual live fifth grader for our booth at the Business Expo. I think she went like 27-3 or something like that against all of her competitors. So if you ever watch that show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? It's harder than it seems, and we had a majority of the folks that were not able to stump the fifth grader as it turned out. On the right-hand side is business development efforts at AirVenture. So we've got a booth that we partner with the Chamber, the city, the Greater Oshkosh EDC. And our piece of it is promoting the business park, but we're promoting the entire kind of way of life of living in Oshkosh, doing business here, and that sort of thing. So it's a big partnership we're proud of each year out at AirVenture. A little bit more on the business development side. So I think the image on the left is MRO, Maintenance, Repair, and Overhaul Convention that we attended this past year and attended the last couple of years. That happened to be in Atlanta. And then on the right, the MBAA convention that Cameron and Kim were fortunate to be able to attend this year. So there's always some fun happening at the airport. Randomly, the airport isn't the first place you think of seeing Miss America, right? Not at least this airport. And so we had the coronation of the new Miss America actually have their event here this past year. So I think that's an image that Chris over at Basler snapped of Miss America coming through the terminal, about a year ago. And then in the bottom right is one of our famed pancake breakfasts partnering with the EA chapter. We're talking about this a lot lately. This is the county board tour. Y'all don't know that I'm taking pictures, but I'm taking pictures. So if you're out here, I might be taking a picture of you. I'm not sure which committee members were all there for this one. I think I see Betsy, maybe John. Yep. And so this is about half of the county board coming out for the fire station tour last May, just kind of running everybody through the building, talking about why it would be an upcoming CIP project, which we'll talk plenty about today. So that's, again, more outreach with the board. You may not know what the top of the control tower looks like, and you may not ever want to go up to the very top of the roof of the control tower, but that's why we threw in an image on the right of a world's busiest control tower. That's the banner during our venture that on the left that hangs every year. But if you're ever curious about what it looks like at the top, and if you'd like to go up there, we can certainly schedule a tour. But this is what we actually have an upgrade project that we got a grant for last year to make various upgrades to our traffic control tower, which of course the county owns. And so one of the things one of the things actually has to do with some equipment that would be mounted on the roof. So that was actually my first time going up to the very top of the tower cab and seeing what it's like up there. Actually, it's not too bad. It's a pretty solid railing and it's pretty solid.
Pretty solid.
County owned. In other words, I couldn't be up there because it's pretty solid. I'd probably be pushing it weight limit. So it's not as bad as it looks, and it's a great view up there, almost unobstructed except for all those antennas.
Just don't go up there at night when the lights on.
But if it's 90 degrees outside and you're looking for a place to fry an egg, that roof is just perfect for it. So a big addition to our equipment fleet this past year was the addition of a DJI A DJI drone, which Cameron went through and got his drone pilot certificate in order to fly it around the airport. Initially, we started flying it around you've seen a lot of aerials over the last year or so of our hangar project. Those are all been taken with our DJI. Initially, it was just to fly in that just specific area, because the FAA is very strict on where people can fly drones, even airport operators when they can fly drones. But since that time, Cameron has actually gotten authorization to fly in various, pretty much all the different areas of the airfield with proper coordination and timing and that sort of thing. So we're finding new ways, almost every month to utilize our DJI, but that's something that on the upper left was like the first flight. It was like not quite as crazy as the Wright brothers, but it was cold. So in the upper left was the first flight. Kim is hunkering down in her parka. So we got the whole crew out there to watch Cameron fly for the first time. That was right before the hangar project started. So you can see some images there.
Looks like you're landing long on 3.6.
Well, it lands vertical. It's amazing. And that thing.
I know.
Yeah.
That's my point of view. Landing long on 3.6.
It's amazing when you tell that thing to do and it just does it. It lands right backwards. So. Just more of Cameron's handiwork, like I mentioned, with various stages of completion of the hangar project. All right, so back to utilizing our joint use agreement with the city primarily and other fire jurisdictions. This is upper left is some training, a training exercise held with several other jurisdictions around not just the city of Oshkosh, but Amro, I want to say Nakaima at some point, but just the cross training of understanding, what their equipment's capable of, what our equipment's capable of in preparation, in this case for adventure. Bottom right is actually our FAA inspector coming out to inspect our ARP equipment in this case. Prior to AirVenture kicking off, we always have the joy of having him here at 5 a.m. the day AirVenture starts to make sure everything's up to par. So if they weren't, we really have to scramble at that point. But typically speaking, we're always in good shape. Next slide. So things don't always go well during the event. This is a couple of images shot during AirVenture. Bottom right, of course, is just a landing gear that broke and aircraft was disabled on the runway. But as you can see, we've got the fire truck out there and our crew trying to assess what we need to do to get that airplane moving again. But in the upper left, so during AirVenture, before 6 a.m., we are a closed airport, before 6 a.m. in the morning. But this gentleman or person, I think it was this gentleman decided at 5:30 in the morning that he just had to go nap before we opened. And so our crews were out there inspecting runways and taxiways and everything, and he fired up his Stinson. He fired up his Stinson and he went right out to the paved ditch and took off over our ops manager. Actually, he got out of the way and he captured this nice image from an iPhone of a Stinson flying by. So this person, it's the 99% of the folks that come and follow the rules and have a great time is the 1% that kind of throws a wrench in things. So that was a very interesting one, just one kind of, hey, 5:30 in the morning, somebody needs to leave and closed airport, we don't care, we're just going. So that was kind of that one. This past year was our first year with the summer internship. We're actually going to do it again this upcoming summer. But for those of you that are around when Nicoletta was here, she was an absolute joy to have at the airport. Crazy smart, very big potential as far as her career goes. Actually got a job out at the Burlington, Vermont airport right after concluding her internship here. So just a few images of her out there having fun, different experiences on the airport.
She doesn't look like she's having fun over there. She's got that death grip on there.
Well, a lot of people won't go out there at all, so give her credit for it. Even pilots won't go. I've had some pilots that are like, I don't think so. So, it just depends.
That's fairly safe.
I feel about it. Yeah, it's fairly safe. Kind of switching gears a little bit. Our crews, our equipment operators, our maintenance, folks do a whole lot of stuff in-house. I guess that's kind of the behind the scenes look at it here. The left-hand side is actually them installing a new, what we would call a fillet, around the radius of where the old terminal apron right over here meets the new general aviation terminal apron. That corner had been proven to be a real issue with snow plowing, coming around that corner and catching plow lips and plow edges and that sort of thing on the pavement. And so we did an in-house project to prepare that area for the concrete to be poured, and our guys went ahead and finished it. Our guys are getting really good at finishing concrete over the last few years, because there's always little projects, and this is just one of them. But it's a major benefit to the county to have the abilities in-house and the equipment in-house to say, okay, we're ready when that concrete truck shows up, we can finish it. They did a great job of it. On the right-hand side is work on one of the earth trucks. And then the bottom right is the beacon refurbishment project. So again, things don't go always according to plan. On the left-hand side, if you recall, about a year ago at this time, I'm gonna knock on some wood, even though I'm gonna take wood or whatever, but we had a burst pipe in the control tower right around the new year last year. And essentially, as you can see in the left-hand side photo, there's the elevator right there in the tower. Above the elevator, above that drop ceiling, is just the entire elevator shaft. I kind of thought the elevator shaft was just above the elevator. It's above that whole area there. And so there's a big void up there with fire suppression lines running in that area. There's a heater up there which failed. We didn't know that it failed until the pipes froze, and then when it got just a little bit warm enough, boom, they burst. And so we had a flood in the tower, which we had to clean up and remediate. And there's our former ops manager, now Jason, who's just thrilled to be there at 1 a.m. with me, kind of cleaning up the mess. And so, just the dedication of you never know when you're going to get that call, and we're the ones that have to come in and kind of make sure that everything is cleaned up properly. And with obviously water damage, we don't want mold and those sorts of things growing in the facility. So we took care of that as quickly as possible, and then remediated the damage later on. On the right-hand side, just painting in preparation for adventure, and in this case, kind of turning a taxiway alpha into a runway for the event. All right, so this, I think, yes, this transitions. So something that I've been working on, a personal project of mine, is getting Kim out onto the airfield and making her an expert at anything that she's out there doing. And so these next few slides, if you hear me a little bit, is Kim exercising her professional inspection abilities in a variety of ways as far as projects going on the airplane. So first one, with the hangar project that we completed this past year, one of the things that we had to do was go out there and lay new sewer pipes. So you see the green PVC pipe in the background. I said, we need to keep our engineers honest and make sure that we get our professional sewer pipe inspector out there to make sure everything's up to standard. And so that was Kim giving Jason Marks, he's one of our engineers at Westwood, kind of giving him 20 questions about making sure, hey, is it at the right depth? Is it the right type of material? Where did you go to school for this? Do you really have an engineering degree, or you get out of the cracker jack box sort of thing? So.
And you checked out.
Yeah, and he checked out.
And how much you get paid to go with GPS?
No, so suffice to say, when you flush the toilet over the restroom in the new hangars, it should flush and go the way it should go. So, because of Kim's.
And if it doesn't,
it's Kim's fault. So kind of back to finishing that concrete on the taxiway fillet. We wanted, this is right out Kim's window, so we felt, it's a short walk out there, make sure our guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I think I had to explain what the difference between concrete and asphalt was first, right? And then you got it right off the bat. Okay, so Kim's out there making sure that they're doing their job, finishing that concrete. Chris can fill in, what you don't want to do finishing concrete. That's what Kim was doing, making sure we're doing that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's Chris's,
Is somebody's fingerprints in there, or his shoes, or?
Date.
The airport hall of, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I've tried that several times and they always tell me no. Yeah, I don't think so, but next time. So this image is the gentleman who's seated there. His name is Boyd Martin. He is one of two people that are kind of the brainchild behind the AirVenture convention and the air show operations themselves. And we were over there, kind of a surprise visit over there prior to AirVenture last year. I wanted to make sure that all of their planning had been done soundly and that all of their paperwork with the FAA was in order and that Kim was the independent inspector, making sure that, you know, they had a good air show coming and they crossed all their I's and dotted their T's. And I guess it turned out that
Well, I thought I did, but unfortunately, the fireworks show didn't go.
they had. Well,
It
they're
was
not.
your fault.
Yeah. To Boyd's credit, I don't think he has a bullet to use the fireworks. So, next slide. And I think this is the last one, so I won't keep going on this, but we had to pave some asphalt in front of the hangars. And I thought, you know, what better time to make sure this asphalt paving is getting done than get Kim out for her first asphalt inspection. And so, up in the upper right is our engineer Caitlin with Westwood, that is out there making sure that the paving crews are meeting all of the specs and getting all the slopes right to the drains and everything like that. And just to ensure that that was actually happening properly, that came out there trying not to get her shoes stuck in fresh asphalt. And for the most part, I think, you know, we got the asphalt off our shoes in about 6 months.
She learned not to use high heels, though.
Yeah.
Oh, no, high heels are always necessary.
Yeah, that'll be the last time with fresh paving she'll wear those kind of shoes.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, skipping on from that, we don't have a few more left. So anyhow, you know the airport's in good hands when Kim's out there inspecting. All of the things that we're doing on a regular basis, I want everybody to be able to see these like that. With this slide, we hosted the NIPA SafeCon convention in May of last year for the very first time. So upper left is our guys going out there and painting some temporary markings, and lower right is that finished product. Temporary markings for their spot landing competition. And, you know, this is something that, you know, our guys do very, very well, obviously with their ventures, going out and painting temporary markings and then removing them after the fact. So we're able to do that to support the event. And just a couple other images from actual NIPA. Something that we're very proud of every single year, and last couple of years now coming out of the new terminal was a bit of a learning curve, but we proved that we can do it. We have the space to host it still. Is Honor Flight each year. So on the left-hand side, that's 6 a.m. in the morning prior to them leaving for the veterans and their support staff leaving for DC. On the right-hand side is their welcome home ceremony, with us providing the water arch, the fire department, and Oshkosh Corporation as well. Welcoming them back the way they should be welcomed back from the visit, and the way they always should be welcomed back from their time, I think, in these kits to Vietnam veterans. More handiwork. So one of the utilizations of the drone this past year, saying, hey, we got all these airplanes here during our venture, and we usually get these great aerials from 10,000 feet of what the whole field looks like. But getting down in the lower level, 100, 200 feet, really kind of gives you a little bit more sense of the scale and excuse me, what's happening out there for those 10 days surrounding the event. So that's a few images from the north side of the airport, just kind of showing how busy we are out here. Who doesn't like pretty pictures of sunsets? On the left-hand side, we have some really unobstructed views of sunsets out here at the airport. So I was trying to capture a couple of those, some unique operations happening. And then on the right, more serious note, this is a search and rescue Coast Guard helicopter that came over actually for a missing kayaker just in the last couple of months. So they came over here from Traverse City, Michigan, and they were all searching even more for that kayaker. But they have to come, land, refuel, and do their operation here from the airport. So there's another utilization of the airport. And something that we try to do every single year, the last couple of years, is a team building event with our staff. And so I think none of us that are actually in the picture. Dan couldn't make it.
Yeah, Dan couldn't be.
Yeah, none of us had actually done an escape room before. So like, let's do an escape room. Dan, one of our staff, had something else going on that day. He was the only one that had done an escape room. So we're like, we have a chance. And then he couldn't make it. So we almost made it, I guess is the moral of the story. We learned a lot. I learned a lot during this hour that we were all trapped in a room together, a series of rooms. If you've never done Escape Oshkosh, I highly recommend it. It was a whole lot of fun. I think if we had like 5 more minutes, we would have gotten out.
Yeah.
But, it was one of those things where Robert and Chris, yeah, you two were the ones that literally just took charge and had some analytical abilities that I quite certain I don't have and never will possess. But there's some really interesting riddles in trying to get out of escape rooms. So I learned, and we've got some staff that really excel at it. And last but not least, probably one of the most unique airplanes that we've seen at AirVenture in quite some time, the Boeing Dreamlifter. I think Jason shot this image last year, kind of how, at least with the perspective, it looks like it's almost as big as the tower, but it's a huge airplane. And so that was kind of a cool one that we had here, from Boeing to show, the grand scale of all the things that we get done during the convention. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions, comments? Number 9, EAA report. Nobody's here from EAA, but I wanted to mention 2 things. And you probably all know about this, but the snowbirds are coming to the EAA, and now we've got the Italian military team is coming. So that's super, super great. And Supervisor Hanson had asked if anybody from the EAA could lend an ear to what the economic impact is on the county and the city. So do you have a number? It's probably an old number, but.
Oh, excuse me, so hopefully Supervisor Hanson's still on. To your question about the kind of the economic impact of the convention, the last time EAA did a study just surrounding AirVenture in 2017, the economic impact from the event was $170 million. Every 10 years at the airport, we haven't done one ourselves in some time, but the last time the airport did one was back in 2012, an economic impact study that just studied everything outside of AirVenture and all the things, the businesses and the jobs that are created from having the airport here. That's about an additional 40 million, and that was 12 years ago we did that study. Actually, the state of Wisconsin is finishing up a new economic impact study for all airports in the state. We're excited to see those results come out here in the next few months. But based upon current numbers between AirVenture and year-round operations, airport economic impact is about $210 million based on our latest figures. That answers both the questions.
Okay. Number 10, Chairman's report. I don't have anything under that item at all. Number 11, committee member statements, suggestions, items for future agenda. If you have anything right now, bring it up. Otherwise, you're welcome to bring it up as we reach the next meeting. Always open for suggestions. Anybody have anything? Set next meeting date. I've got March 7th.
March 6th.
6th. Oh. Oh, leap year. That's when. So March 6th.
8 a.m. again?
Yes. And I don't know, Ed, if anybody explained to you why you do 8 a.m. Okay, so we've got the players, usually Dazzler, EAA, sometimes Fox Valley Tech. They were in favor of starting that early so then they could go on and do their jobs. So otherwise they wouldn't be here, and they're pretty important players.
And I'm okay with 8 a.m., that's not a problem.
Because there was we were supposed to meet after 3 PM and then we lose all our players, so,
I'd rather do the moon.
okay. So that's why we're doing this, and it's worked well. And our tenants can come, so it's all good. All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Thank you, everybody, for all your input. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, you
Yeah.
saw how we rallied